Welcome to our Impossible Conversation. I'm your host Suki, and my goal is to introduce you to ordinary people who's got extraordinary journey. Our Impossible Conversation is all about you, your journey, and your story. My guest tonight is Barbara Lisa. She's an author, blogger, TEDx Bratislava speaker, and her purpose is to inspire others through her story. Barbara loves dancing, traveling, and walking her dog Archie. Now let me bring Barbara here. Hello, Barbara.
Hi,
How
Suki.
are
How
you
are you?
doing?
I'm good. Excited.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really lovely to have you here. So, welcome to our Impossible Conversation.
Thank you.
And my first question, because I've introduced you briefly, but my first question is all about your favorite quotes.
hmm
Could you tell me what is your favorite quote is
hmm
and why?
So it's by Theodore Roosevelt, "Men in the Arena," and it's a quote that was introduced to me by Brené Brown in her TEDx speech, which was about
Uh-huh.
5, 6, 7 years ago, and her TEDx speak on vulnerability. And it's the most popular TEDx talk, or one of the 10 top in the world. And it's very long, so I will just tell you the important part that I really like. And it says, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood." And I love this because it reminds me.
Okay, so it sounds like basically if you don't like walk the talk, is that right? Because it's like commenting from this point of view, looking, it's completely different than doing.
Yeah, I would say social media. Let's just take an example from social media. Somebody does something and writes it proudly, like, writes a small blog about, oh, I've done this. And the hatred that comes quite often to these people. These are the people that are not in the arena. But if I done something, I am not really interested in telling me how could I have done it differently or better, or how they would done it differently, because they haven't. So unless you are standing with me in the arena and going through the tough time where you have fears and things are not going well and you feel naked and exposed because you are doing something outside of your comfort zone, then I'm not interested in that feedback. It's very comfortable to be sitting somewhere and looking at me and criticize me. So I'm not interested unless you are there. So
Absolutely, yes. So I totally get you now. And let's see who you are as a person. You're Barbara, and then you are
I would say
Slovakian, aren't
I'm
you?
Slovakian.
Mhm.
I'm Slovakian. I'm married to an Indian. We
Mhm.
live in Cambridge, so I'm just dialing in from Cambridge. And who
Mhm.
I am, if I could describe myself, or if my friends would describe myself, I am a transformation. I constantly live through transformation. I have this idea of who I want to be and how I want to live my life when I'm dying. I have this imagination that for the last 5-10 minutes of my life, when I will be given the gift of evaluate my life, I want to be like, yeah, I really lived a good life. Which means that I do have to do something in order to get there and live a good life. So I totally consider myself as a Miss Transformation, Miss Inspiration. Through transfer, I transform myself because I am being inspired. Like, for example, Brené Brown and her TED Talk on vulnerability. It was just such an eye-opening. I was in awe when I heard her story and her speaking. Or Anita Morjani and her book Dying to Be Me. It was just amazing. So I believe that people change or do something different if they are inspired. So I see myself as transformation, inspiration, female leadership. I am many things, not one. But definitely
Absolutely.
female leadership. I think I was born, well, you are never born, but I joke that I was born feminist. And I am absolutely for female rights, equality. So I want to lead, and I want to lead by example. And I think in many aspects, I lead by example to many women.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the most defining moment in your life and your journey.
So there were many. And because I go through transformation, I would say there are phases in my life. So in the last phase, or in the phase where I am now, I guess what is the most defining is that me and my husband, we've been trying for a child for last 6.5 years. And I've had 5 IVFs, which is the in vitro fertilization. And none of them resulted in long-term pregnancy. And that's really tough. I'm 40, my husband is 42. I never imagined my life. I've never, ever imagined that I will never be a mom. And that's a identity that I always assume. And older I am and more unsuccessful tries we have, I am realizing that that identity might have to be changed. So in these 6.5 years, I had several defining moments that made me realize that I have a choice how I'm going to live, because of course, not to have a child is extremely difficult. It's emotional, it's really tough on couples and really tough on individuals. And it's very easy to become sucked into that. It's really easy to become a victim, become sad, become depressed. It's very, very easy. So I had defining moments where I decided actually I can't influence whether we will have a child or not, but I can influence how I'm gonna deal with it on a daily basis. I have a choice if I will be a victim or if I'm gonna have still a great life despite not being a mom. So I had my first moment, and I know I'm speaking a little bit long, I'm sorry, but my first moment was a couple of years ago. I had my 2 unsuccessful IVFs and I was depressed to the point of suicidal. And I still was going to work. I didn't tell anybody, not even my husband. I really, really struggled. I locked myself in bathroom a couple of times with a knife. And I was thinking like how great it would be if I just cut my wrist and I'm going to be done in 20 minutes and nobody will know. And it was really tough. It was very, very tough. And despite all of these thoughts, I still was continuing my normal life, pretending everything is fine. And then one day I was exercising. I was doing star jump, like the kids star jump. I was doing star jump at home. And I ruptured my knee ligaments. And I knew straight away when the pain came, when the snap came, when the pain came, I knew straight away that this is a gift from God that is telling me I need to slow down. I need to physically stop going to that work. And I need to start looking after myself because I am not okay. And that was a first wake-up call. And I listened to that. I took 7 months off. Of course, I had surgery because when you have ruptured your ligaments, you need a surgery. I had surgery. I took 7 months off. I went to coaching, Landmark. You probably have heard of Landmark before. So I went through life coaching. I took on some hobbies and I went to spiritual retreat to Bali. I traveled a little bit. It was amazing, like really amazing time. And I thought that everything is okay. And then I went to my 3rd IVF and I started to bleed after the embryo implant. I was really bleeding excessively. And I was misdiagnosed. My doctor didn't even recognize that I was pregnant at the time. She did a pregnancy test and she said, I'm not pregnant. So she doesn't know why I'm bleeding. And she gave me pills to stop the bleeding. And half an hour later, she called me to say, oh, sorry, I misread your pregnancy test. You are pregnant. So it's probably miscarriage. but the bleeding didn't stop. So I went to hospital and they said, oh, sorry, we don't have a gynecologist here. We can't do sonography for you. So you have to go home and come back in 5 days. And when I went back to hospital, they said, oh, I think it's a miscarriage. But deep down, I knew that's not true. You know, you have these instincts. I am very, very instinctive. I had a really strong instinct that was telling me that is definitely true. This is not a miscarriage. There's something different. So I went to another doctor. I went to a private doctor. And she said that I'm having a healthy baby. And she showed me in the sonograph, she showed me the baby and with a beating heart. And she's like, I'm so sorry, but your baby is in cervix. And that was crushing. So I'm sorry, I do get emotional about this. But that was crushing, because that's something that happens to maybe 1 in 10,000 pregnant women. And that was really hard. So I had to go immediately to hospital and I had a surgery. And before the surgery, the doctor was like, well, there are several options how this can go. One is that you are not going to survive and you will die. Another option is that we will have to do hysterectomy and take everything out. Or another option is that we'll cut you on the side and we'll pump the blood out. Or another option is that you're going to be okay and it will be easy peasy. So that was hard. That was really hard. I had to call my parents and my siblings and my niece and nephew, and I had to say goodbye to them because I didn't know how the surgery will go, and that was really hard. So, and before the surgery, I was imagining the baby, and I was imagining how I'm saying goodbye to the baby. You know, I put him or her into my hands and I just thank her. Let's say it was a girl. I just thank her for letting me to feel how is it to be a mom, even though just for a couple weeks. But it was an amazing feeling. And then I let her go. You know, I just let her go. And the surgery was amazing. It was done in 15 minutes. It was, they didn't have to take anything else. And I think it was a lot because I didn't fight the situation and I also said goodbye to my baby. So I let it to go. I didn't hold on to the baby. And when the surgery finished and the surgeon called my husband and told him what happened and how easy it was, he said, oh, our baby didn't want her mommy to suffer. So she let go. And that was very emotional. So when I was in that hospital bed and waiting for the surgery, I promised myself that I'm not going to live the way I've been living so far, because that's not sustainable long term. And I realized that actually there's no point to be making plans, no point to be like thinking about future, no point to be worrying about future, because the life actually happens now. And when shit really happens and when it gets really difficult, the best way how to calm yourself down or how to calm myself down is just to concentrate on now, this second, this hour, because that's where the life actually happens. That's where the emotions are, everything else. And I also realize that how important it is to have communities, because you need to have your tribe, you need to have people that are understanding you, that you can call on, that can support you, that don't judge you. They're just there to listen to you. Yeah. And the power of community is just very, very strong. It's amazing. And I also understood that actually, no matter what I do, I can't influence whether I will get pregnant or whether I will have a miscarriage or what. I can't influence my circumstances. That's the same with COVID. We can't influence that it happened. But what I can influence is how I'm going to react to that. You know, it's like, am I going to be a victim, or am I going to be angry, or will I find peace, or will I forgive? So I realized that actually the only thing I can influence is my reaction to the situation. That's all I can influence. And that actually was very empowering. No, because I've been feeling so disempowered for the 3-4 years before that I've been trying to have a baby, and I just felt like I can't do anything. But actually, I can choose how I'm gonna live my life every day. I can choose how I'm gonna influence my life, and that was really, really empowering. That was very empowering.
So you talked about your tribes, and then you've just found out that you have that power in your hand, how you want to react to circumstances. So was it like, did you find out it by yourself, or how you made into that conclusion, saying, actually, do you know what, it's my choice how I decide to go through this?
No, I found it when I was sitting in that hospital bed waiting for surgery. And it was just coming to me like messages, because I was desperate. I don't think I could go any lower. And if you are facing death, or if you are facing something as dramatic as hysterectomy at the age of 30 something, I think it's natural to reconsider life. And it came to me that even, like, for example, with friends, I'm sure we all have that, where you are not really sure about some of them and you feel really comfortable about others. And I kind of realized that it's a tribe, because I naturally am inclining to the people that are there to support me, that are there to cheer me up, when I'm feeling low. And I'm the same for them. It's like, you have something, I am definitely standing behind you, and I'm there for you. And that's what gave me, I guess, the power to fight, power to move on. Even when when I was depressed, and sometimes, like, should I die? Should I stay? What gives me power? It's the people. It's like, I need to have a reason to live for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and I had so the third time I was really impacted is several months ago. I had another IVF, and I just decided not to continue anymore because it didn't work out. And that was devastating, because the prospect of not being a mom is very, very real. After this last one, it was very real. And I tend to get really depressed with some pills, or maybe just because of the situation and how difficult is the IVF process. And, thoughts of jumping out of the window are not unusual for me. That came to my head a few times. And what I was doing is I was praying to God to show me what to do next, because I felt like so low. I just felt so low and desperate that being biological mom might never happen to me. And I prayed to God for so many nights to show me, like, what am I gonna do? What should I do? Because I kind of felt like I came to a T-junction. It's like, I either will kill myself, which was an option, or I will move on in life, but I absolutely have to live differently. And then I had this voice came to my head, and the voice said, stop fixing. And I was like, okay, I get it. I get it. So I realized that actually, yes, I constantly assess situations that's happening to me, and I'm not accepting it for what is it. I'm always like, oh, why me? It shouldn't happen to me. Why does it happen to others and not to me? And blah, blah, blah. But actually, stop fixing means, like, accept what's happening. There is nothing wrong. Everything is fine as it is, or as it isn't, but it's okay. And that the same applies to the relationship with my husband, the relationship towards me, relationship towards friends, towards work, anything. And it brought such a peace to me. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is such an emotional journey, isn't it? And then you are such an inspiration, because you share your story with lots of other people, and you show people the courage you have, and then you give them hope. Because, and then you've been in TEDx, and you talked about your journey, same as
Yes.
you're talking now. Is that right?
I did.
Yeah.
I started to openly talk and share maybe 2 years ago, and really a lot last year when I was a TEDx speaker in Bratislava. I've done a lot of podcast interviews, blogs, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, like, that's your personal life. And then what would you describe yourself as your achievement, the proudest achievement throughout of this,
Proudest
like, in your
achievement.
life?
There are few. Difficult to choose one. I would say speaking at TEDx, TEDx was really big for me because I've been imagining for years that I will be invited to speak at TEDx Bratislava. I had that imagination, and I always imagined that my name will be on Facebook page where there will be my picture and says Barbara Lisa and then the story. And it happened. And when it happened, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it happened. So I would say that. I was also voted to be the most inspirational woman for last year by one popular website in Slovakia. And that was very touching as well, because I never thought that it would be possible. There were 12 inspirational women, and I was like, my goodness, they are so inspirational. Like, I'm nothing next to them, like nothing. And yeah, my husband really inspired me to be like, no, come on, you can win this. It's like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I think the dilemma is she's like your friend and says you are true inspiration, a proof of how difficult situations in life can make us stronger. Absolutely.
Thank you, Guya. He's my husband's friend.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So what do you stand for? What's your dreams and passions?
What I stand for, equality. I would say in my core, it's equality. Especially being a strong woman and going through what I went through professionally or personally. I believe that there's a lot of biases around women that are not okay. So I definitely stand by equality, and at work, especially in my professional life, I am trying to be leading. I'm trying to inspire women to be a certain way. But what I mainly stand around is inspiration and stories. I love people, and I love people's stories, because every one of them has something that can inspire us. The same way as you are doing this, and you are very inspirational, and your goal is to interview 1,000 people, like normal people, not famous, super rich, because every story can inspire others. And I think that's what life is about.
Absolutely. I just love people, and then we are all normal. The thing is, we are all the ordinary people, whatever situation, whatever them job titles we have. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. I really would like you to talk about your upcoming book about people.
Oh, yes. So I'm writing a book called Leaving Czechoslovakia, and it's a story. It's a collection of 25 stories from people who escaped communism from Czechoslovakia. And I have 2 stories that are starting in 1948. And the last story is in 1986. And the reason why I'm writing it is, again, because they are stories from people that are still alive, that live among us. And what they have experienced in Czechoslovakia it can be forgotten, and quite most of the time it's forgotten, that our generation, my generation, people younger than me, forget about our history, which was not always pretty. And I don't think that Slovakia or Czech Republic or our people have really accepted the ugly part of our history, the ugly part of our grandparents, great-grandparents. And for me, it's really important to capture it from the perspective of the speaker. from the perspective of the person that talks about the story, the way how they remember it. Because this is something that's been taught through generations in family, and that's what defines you as a family. And that's what defines you as a country. So one person, for example, he escaped at the end of 1968 to Cuba through the flight from Prague to Cuba, but the plane stopped in Canada to refuel. And he was telling me how they escaped from the plane and how, all that stuff. But what is more inspiring for me about his story is that he is a Slovak Jew, and all of his family was killed in concentration camps, apart from his parents and his 2 siblings, and all 5 of them plus his grandpa. So 6 people, or 6 of them were hiding for 200 days in a hole in hills, in mountains, for 200 days. Unbelievable. How can you survive 6 people in the winter, when it was one of the coldest winter in 1945? What was absolutely unbelievable for me is that when they were in the hole about 5 months, they were discovered by Ukrainian soldiers. And they took them out of the hole. They started to shoot them, but they didn't kill them. But they stripped them of the clothes and let them die. They took them all the remaining food they had, blankets, everything, and they let them die there. And the same night, there was a hot stream that surfaced in their hole. So basically a hot stream appeared in their hole, and that's what kept them hot. That's what kept them warm. I mean, it was such a unbelievable miracle. And this person, he's 91. His name is Tibor Spitz. He's just amazing. He's 91. He lives in the US, in New York. And for example, UN made a story created a story, his story, and then put it into exhibition. That was January or February, when it was 75th anniversary of liberation of Auschwitz. It's just amazing. And meeting these people in person, I'm so lucky.
Yeah. And how many people's stories you bring in your book?
25, but I count sometimes a story, like 2 people can be one story because they became a couple. I've interviewed much more people than that, but not everybody wants to be exposed. So not everybody was okay to be published the story, but yeah, I've interviewed a lot of people.
But listening to them is just absolutely amazing, isn't it?
It is. You know how many times I cried when they speak and when they tell me, when they tell me, because every story has a kindness. Everybody found a kindness from a stranger that helped them on their escape. And that makes me so cry. It's such a heartwarming feeling, because I feel that in this world, it's not very typical to meet kindness. You go on social media, and the hatred and negative comments, it's so hard. You can go to work and it can be extremely clinical and dehumanized, and you can go to somewhere. It's just, I think we are missing kindness, and hearing how others had helped them, it makes me cry from joy.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really interesting. I got a question for you from Alison, Barbara.
Yes. Yeah.
Love hearing your story, Barbara. You an inspiration. What advice would you give to someone listening who really wants to change the way they live their life?
So first of all, stop fixing. There's nothing wrong. Whatever is or isn't is okay. Because it's powerful. When you start from stop fixing, it gives you much more power, and you become, I would say, calmer or better suited to look at what would you like to change, rather than coming from, oh, I hate this or I hate that, because that doesn't make us measure. That makes us very emotional. So I think it's really important to start from stop fixing, and then look at what's workable, what works. Everything is fine. I can still live the way I've been living so far, but is it inspirational? Is it transformation? Is it powerful? Does it work for me? Yes or no? And then whatever doesn't work, then look at what do you want it to work? How do you want it to be?
Yeah. So very first thing is stop fixing.
Nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. We've been living like this for 40 years. We can live the same way for another 40. Whether you want to live that way, it's different. Stop fixing.
Fantastic. I got a comment from Susanna. I think you probably better.
That's my mom. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mommy. She's saying she's very proud of me and she loves me.
Yes, because I can see like Ljubim. That's
Ljubim.
like Ljubim.
Yeah, тебя люблю. Yeah. Ljubim,
yeah. Like my Russian coming up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like stop fixing and then we'll just wait. And then
stop fixing and then look at workability. Because, you know, we can have, I'm going to generalize, but many people in the world are living a mediocre life. And it's okay. If that's the way how you want to live, that's fine. But when you say that something doesn't work for you, is it because why it doesn't work for you? Because you make something wrong, because you assess the situation, because you complain about what's happening for you? Or is it because you want to live a more powerful way that you've been living so far? The same way with me. I can be making a victim out of me and my husband because we don't have kids and poor us. And we can very easily get sucked into emotions, or we look at plan B. And yes, I'm going to have emotions and I am sad and it's very painful and it's a long process and maybe it will never disappear. That pain from not being a mom might never disappear. I have to learn how to live with it. But despite that pain, I can choose how I want to live. Do I want to be at home or do I want to go out there and create something for myself, for others, for community, for my husband?
Yeah. Absolutely. Choice is yours. It's like, it's ours to make.
Yeah. Despite the pain.
Absolutely. So you've just mentioned your husband and you mentioned about community. Tell us what you've been doing all this lockdown periods.
I will ask you to interview my husband, but what we've been doing is in his spare time, he's a DJ and I am his PR, his marketer, his manager, his secretary, his helper, everything but DJ. So basically we started to play for people. So every Thursday at 8 p.m. when we are thanking the key workers for keeping us alive and keeping the country running, we play music for the whole area. And we have like my husband, Nilay, he really has like these huge DJ speakers. And then we also play for half an hour every Sunday just to lift up the spirit. You know, it's lift up the spirit. We have like, I'm watching across me, you know, there are other apartments and on balcony, I see people dancing and it's fun. So we are lifting spirits. We are lifting the spirits. So we post videos on Facebook so people can see us dancing and they can join us. We had music parties online and you can see I'm a dancer. I like music.
And dancing. Yeah. It's such uplifting, you know.
It is.
Just watching us on YouTube.
It is, and it's we live in a really beautiful area. We live in a park, so we have greenery everywhere around. But in lockdown, I came really present to the silence. It's very quiet here, very quiet, and it can bring certain heaviness with it, especially during the lockdown. So hearing a music where I just can't help. I need to dance as soon as I hear it. And then when the music switches off, when he finishes his music, it's like, wow, that was like, we just lifted the energy of the environment, of the area around us for a while. So that's our way of helping.
Yeah, I bet like all your neighbors and people who live same area, they are waiting for Thursday to listen like to uplifting music.
Most of them, yes. Some of them not really, but most of them are like, I love the music. Thank you very much. Can you pump it up? Can you put the volume higher next time? So, yeah. Yeah. It's
Hard
but you know, it's been hard also because we both are very exposed. You know, we are doing something that's not typical to do in our area, and it's something that could be a little bit against the law because, you know, the music is louder than you would normally expect. And then we had to have a lot of conversations with our neighbors and with people around and with authorities. And I just feel, again, in the arena, I feel really exposed and naked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are there and we are trying to do something new that's not typical. And it's hard sometimes. It's really hard. So, but we are sticking to that so far.
Yeah. You got a choice. And if you decided to do that and then it's helping other people, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I'll ask you a few questions to get to know you better. So, just like kind of a spontaneous questions. What's the best gift you've ever given?
Best gift. I'm sure I got a lot, but most recently, my husband is Indian, so we went to India to visit his parents, and we met Nilay's former teacher. Never met him before, so we ended up talking, and he told us that in his retirement for the last 10 years, he is helping girls to get education, and these girls are from slums, so they're extremely. If you've ever been to India, you know these are the people living on the street, and it's heartbreaking to see them. So he was telling us about the school that the girls get education and how the parents don't really value them because they are girls. So whatever money they have, they invested in boys rather than in girls. And he was telling us how he had to go from family to explain parents and motivate them and inspire them to send the girls to school, which eventually it worked out. And we came to see the school without, I had no expectations, which is my husband just said, let's go. So I went. And it was probably one of the life-changing moments I had because there were girls from 4 to 16 and they were studying in 3 different time because there are 1,200 of them and the building is extremely small. So some of them starts at 8:30, some of them at 1:30, some of them later on. And we came to a classroom there were the girls 4 or 5 years old. And the teacher introduced us and he asked them, who feels sad today? And one of the girl put her hand up and he said, can you give her a hug? Because most of these girls don't know what is love. And most of them never got a hug from anyone. And that was heartbreaking because here we are a couple who've been trying to have a baby. And there are 1,200 girls and many of them are unwanted by their parents because they are girls, not boys. That was heartbreaking. So I spent the whole time I was there, I spent just hugging the girls. And, you know, they were shy at the beginning. So first one came and then they brought a friend. And then 3 of them, and I was giving like group hugs, like really, really strong hugs, because I wanted them to feel that. I wanted them to feel that they are loved and there is nothing wrong with them and they are just okay. And then so many of them came. It was like I was worried they're going to stump me or hurt themselves. And one hand came like this. And there was this box, this little box, which is quite, you know, it's just a paper box, and there was one small chocolate was in it, and she said, for you. And then there were so many girls, I couldn't find her anymore, but I took it. And the box is, you can see, like really destroyed, dirty, and it's probably this girl's only possession that she carried with her for so many months. And she gave it to me. And you know, it's I have that box on my jewelry box, so I look at it every day to get a reminder of who I am and how lucky I am, and to get a reminder that not every girl in this world is having such a life like I am, and many, many girls suffer because of their gender. So that was a very thoughtful, life-changing gift for me.
Wow, what a story. And what a gift.
Yeah, still makes me very emotional.
Yes, it's just that it just meant so much for them, isn't it?
And you know what I've done? I've asked the teacher how much is the school tuition, because he said, of course, like parents don't really pay for the girls. So for the smallest girl, it's £45 a year. And for the older girls, it's £75 a year as a school tuition. So in January, February, I've done a fundraising event.
Sorry, Barbara. How much did you say?
I know. £45 a year for one girl.
£45 per year. Just to let one girl go to school.
Yes, I know. It's like silly money for us, isn't it?
Mm.
So I've been fundraising January, February, because I was so touched by that experience that I was like, I absolutely can do something about this. I can't change the world, but I can do something about this. And thanks to my friends and family and colleagues, we are getting 50 girls to school. So, which I'm very proud of, because there are 50 girls that would not go to school or wouldn't have a chance in life.
Mm-hmm. So it's you changing people's lives, that little girls.
Yeah, I'm the transformation, Miss Transformation, Miss Inspiration, Miss Leadership.
So what charity it's called? Like, are you setting up your own charity, or
I've set up a
future?
No, it's I set up a GoFundMe page, and all the information is on GoFundMe page. The money go directly not to the charity, because even though the teacher is great, I rather have a more control over where the money go. So I am getting names of the girls that will be benefited for this money, so they can go to school.
Awesome. Yeah,
made me cry.
Yeah. And like 50 girls.
Yes,
and
I know.
Are you going to continue doing it like each year, or?
I think so. I will. When we go to India, I promised the teacher that I will visit the school every year, because I am a woman and I can be an inspiration to them. I know I'm not from their background, I'm different skin color, all that, but I think it's important that they see a woman there who is different, that they have somebody to aspire to. Yeah. And of course, like, if I can help them to raise the money again next year for next year tuition, that we'll do that slow, because they touch my heart so much that I see them as my girls.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a Valerie's comment. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say, to be honest.
I think it's Dushan behind it, and he says that I'm speaking wisely and inspiring about a very sensitive topic and difficult journey I had so far. Díky, Dushan. Thank you.
Yeah, and our Lisa says that's so lovely. You're an amazing lady. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I know you've done so many different things in your life, and what would be the coolest thing you've ever done?
Coolest. I'm not very funny, so for me, cool might not be cool as for others. But I was studying law. That was my first degree, and I was worried I will be really boring lawyer. So when I was 21, I went to Hollywood. And I was in Hollywood for 5 months or 6 months, and I had my own agent, and I was being paid for being an audience on different shows. So, for example, I was on the show Judge Judy. When you have the audience behind, that was me.
Yeah.
Judge Judy, Judge Brown, Rendezvous, and lots of shows. So that was fun. It was like I felt like, okay, I'm cool.
So how does it happen? Tell us more.
I was living in a hostel on Hollywood Boulevard, and Pretty Woman, that building where Julia Roberts used to live, that's actually in reality, when I was there in 2001, that's a hostel. That was a hostel. Now it's something else because it's a prime location. So from my window, I saw the Hollywood side. And in that hostel, they were, of course, people go to Hollywood because they want to make it, and it's very easy to mingle with people. And so many people had agents there. So I just tapped into their network and saw some agents and they're like, well, you need a headshot. And I'm like, I need what? So it was fun. So I got my own agent, and only later
You got your
on.
own agent.
Yeah, I had my own agent, and every Sunday he called me and he gave me the list of shows I need to go to see. I need to, and I was paid $6 an hour. But he cheated because when I was at the shows, I met other people from other agencies, and they got paid about $70 an hour for being an audience. So I was like, fuck. Sorry, I swear, shit. I was like, shit, see, I'm cheated. I can't let this happen again. So, yeah, that was the cool thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that's pretty amazing, though.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I don't particularly like LA. I never fell in love with that culture, but I think living through that, and also I was there in 2001, so September 11, when it happened, I was in LA. So I've experienced it from LA, and it was scary. It was scary. I remember when it happened, and I was going to work, and one of the girl from hostel was running towards me, and she started to yell, saying, they invaded America, because we didn't know at the time what's happening. So everybody was in the living room in the hostel watching the telly, and we were just like, oh my God, it was very scary. Yeah, very scary.
Yeah, so like just even that section could be like a whole book, wouldn't it?
Yes. Probably, yeah.
Stories,
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so like it's nearly 9:15 now, and the question I usually ask at the end is, what's your I'mPossible moment?
I would say two. If I look at lately from the last year, I would say being the speaker at TEDx Bratislava, and the second one is to be devoted the most inspirational woman, and actually maybe being the speaker at TEDx Bratislava, and mainly because I realized that I was putting so many conditions on me that it was impossible. It would be impossible for me to ever be the speaker. I was like, oh, if I'm a speaker, I will only contact them once I have like 1,000 followers and once I write a book and blah, blah, blah. And because of Landmark, I made a bold request to them the way as I was, without 1,000 followers, because everything was fine as it was. And I realized that how many times are we actually not getting the opportunities or not growing because we put so many conditions on us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like wait things to happen for us.
Yeah. The perfect women,
Yeah. So what's your message for our viewers?
You can't influence the consequences that are happening, whether it's COVID, isolation, loss of job, death, illness, whatever, disability, whatever. But you can influence how you react to those, and you can influence how you are going to live every minute of your life. And it's up to you whether you are going to have a joyous life or any other life.
Wow. Thanks very much, Barbara.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. And that's the end for our I'mPossible conversation with Barbara today. And if you would like to be on I'mPossible Conversation, I'm always open to hear your stories. I am all about listening and collecting other people's stories. And it's all about your story, your journey, and how you deal with it. And thank you very much for everyone tuning in. And thank you, Barbara, for spending an hour with me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. We'll see you next week. Bye. I'm going to end our